Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Recap of Honor. I'm your host, Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com. Lots to talk about this week, to say the least, obviously, with the news last week breaking that Ring of Honor will be going on a hiatus at the beginning, the first quarter, I should say, of 2022, and lots of reports spinning out of that. On top of that, we've got a very fun episode of Ring of Honor Wrestling, the Halloween special edition. This is, we're recording on November 1st, the day after Halloween, so I hope everyone has celebrated, enjoyed Halloween, obviously, a very fun, spooky holiday here in Ring of Honor Wrestling. Definitely recognize that. So, obviously, I think it'd be fitting to start with that and then dig into the news because as I was watching the episode which aired on YouTube last night, I thought it was a very good example of like how Ring of Honor really does put on a good show, a great show every week with Ring of Honor Wrestling. That's what I've been saying for as long as I've been doing this show. So we'll talk about that show before we get into all of the other things here, but before I do this one, I'm going to do all this show. Like everything we do here is available on any number of streaming platforms. SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So, like I said, let's dig into the Halloween special of Ring of Honor Wrestling here. This was a really fun show. It literally aired on Halloween, which I don't think was the intended plan. I guess the Ring of Honor parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, was dealing with a ransomware attack. Some various outlets reported that, and they may have either lost the footage or had various technical difficulties in that regard. So on TV, they aired kind of a clip show, a highlight show for Jay Lethal, and this intended episode. Rather than airing over the weekend / on Fight TV. I think it should still air on Fight TV tonight. I'm not sure about that. Well, they shared it on the Ring of Honor YouTube channel on Halloween night. So what a perfect way to celebrate Halloween. What better way than watching the Ring of Honor Halloween special? I thought that was really cool, just like to actually have it on the day itself. So and this literally, like, it was a perfect celebration of Halloween. You had Ian Riccaboni dressed as a Teletubby, which was fantastic. That man is such an amazing broadcaster. If you haven't seen that yet, he shared a long emotional message about what we'll talk about later, the hiatus and Ring of Honor's future, his own future, talking about his career in Ring of Honor, calling it a dream. He shared that in a tweet on Twitter, and it's just really worth checking out. It's a very wonderful message about his time in Ring of Honor and his hope for the future there. So make sure to check that out. But Ian was dressed as a Teletubby. Mark Briscoe said it on commentary at one point. He was dressed as Mario. Just a very, very fun show, just right off the bat in that regard. And there was definitely like some Halloween themed presentation in terms of like the lighting in the arena, the graphics in the arena. They played some like Halloween themed songs here and there. We had Delirious kind of preview the show, kind of a fitting character for Halloween, let alone Danhausen and NPCO being on the show. So that was really, really fun in that regard as well. But it kicked off with a women's tag team match. We had the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Roxy and Quinn McKay facing Miranda Elise and Maxine Taylor. This has been kind of brewing for a while here. Of course, Roxy defeated Elise in the finals of the women's title tournament back at Death Before Dishonor. And she's kind of, I should say, Elise has kind of formed maybe a soft alliance with Maxine Taylor and Amy Rose. Just kind of this mutual agreement to try to target Roxy and trying to, so they both of their sights set on the title. Really fun storytelling here with Elise kind of, I guess, manipulating Max in some ways, kind of like taking advantage of the way they overpowered Roxy and McKay whenever they entered the match. And the story was clearly that Roxy and McKay were trying to prevent Max from entering the match at all costs because they knew that Max would overpower them, and that's exactly what they did. Max really just slammed them around. At one point, she slammed them both at the same time. That was really a sight to see. And Elise capitalized on that. She tagged herself in after Elise had slammed, I think, both Roxy and McKay at one point near the end of the match. And Elise basically stole the pin after Max hit the finisher on McKay. So definitely got stole the win there in some ways, but definitely perhaps set herself up for a rematch there. In terms of, she got the pin on McKay in this match with Roxy. And I think many fans, myself included, would like to see a rematch with Elise and Roxy for the title. Roxy kind of posed for the title after the match there to kind of hint that might be where we're heading here. So we'll have to wait and see whether that happens or not. But I think that'd be a very good match. They had a great match at Death Before Dishonor, so I think that'd be very, very fun as well. Michael MD Muna Michael. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it. I'm sorry, saying he's a big fan of ours from Bangladesh. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well today. Thank you for the support. I always appreciate that. So in honor of the Halloween special here, we had a very fun wildcard trick-or-treat Halloween 4-corner survival tag team match. That is certainly a mouthful, where teams were drawn at random out of a jack-o'-lantern hat. I thought that was just really, really a nice seasonal way to celebrate the holiday, I should say. As the name suggests, the teams were drawn out of a jack-o'-lantern at random, and they're fighting for a $10,000 bonus. I thought that was just a very old school, caustic way to add even more meaning to it. So, heading into the match, the viewer had no idea who the teams were. Quinn McKay picked them at the beginning of the show, but the footage was intentionally fast forwarded, so you couldn't tell who she was saying. So this was a surprise reveal. So the teams wound up being Demonic Flamita and O'Shea Edwards versus Silas Young and Ray Orris versus world famous CB and EC3 versus Flip Gordon and Matt Taven. Just a very a motley crew of teams there. Very, very interesting. Just these pretty cool combinations of performers here. Obviously, Silas and Ray Orris had a feud kind of throughout the summer there. I think they faced off at Glory by Honor in August, I believe. I believe Silas picked the win in that match. EC3 and world famous CB, definitely an interesting combination of personalities there. Flip Gordon and Matt Taven, two kind of long-time Ring of Honor guys, Taven especially, former world champion, but Flip Gordon as well, and in many ways, one of the more kind of well-established members of the roster here. Demonic Flamita and O'Shea, another interesting matchup. All these teams kind of just, compelling clashes of personality in some ways, and I think everyone in this match got to shine at various points. You had, kind of near the end, everyone was diving to the outside. You had Orris, Flamita, Gordon diving to the outside. Taven hit the Flight of the Conqueror as well. In the end, Silas Young stole the pin. He stole the pin from Ray Orris after Orris hit a 450 splash. So Silas Young and Ray Orris got the win and the bonus here. But I thought this was very fun. I mean, yeah, they're throwing together teams, but that's the whole purpose. They're drawn out from a jack-o'-lantern. It's random. It's for the Halloween season. It's a good time. So I thought that was very, very fun. I like that. And again, just having for the $10,000 bonus, very old school, but very fun. And just a good way to kind of get these guys on the show. EC3, you don't see him all too often in some ways. He's kind of like, he's in some ways a special attraction. Matt Taven, former world champion. Flip Gordon, very, very talented as well. They continued kind of that storyline of him hitting his head and thinking it's 2018. And I just think that's been a lot of fun. I'm curious to see where that goes from here on out. But it was fun. I keep saying fun, but that's just the best way to describe this episode. It's a nice Halloween, by and large, it's a very, I don't want to say a throwaway show, but by and large, with a match like that, just like a nice, anybody could watch it. You don't even need to have been watching it every week. You just watch that, these random teams fighting there, and it was a good match. I enjoyed it. And again, with in the context of this seasonal Halloween episode, no complaints there. I enjoyed it a lot. So with that being said, that led to the main event match, a World 6-Man Tag Title match between Shane Taylor Promotions and the oddball team of PCO, Danhausen, and Sledge. A nice, fun, and I keep saying fun. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be redundant. It was a fun show. I'm gonna keep saying it because it's true. It's just I enjoy it a lot. I say it every week. 50 minutes roughly of just good pure wrestling here. And here we had the Shane Taylor Promotions, a great tag team. They've on this great run. Before the match here, they said, it's Halloween, but they're gonna give PCO, Danhausen, and Sledge the beating the LFI should have gotten. They've been kind of avoiding there. So. I enjoy this a lot as well. Shane Taylor Promotions, I mean, like I said, they're on a great run. I think Shane Taylor is incredible. Most of the continue to shine very brightly as well. Big fan of Danhausen, big fan of PCO. Sledge held his own guys a guy like Shane Taylor. So I thought this was great as well. PCO, literally the French Frankenstein. Who better to have on the Halloween episode than PCO? Just literally. It's such a fitting match. So I'm glad he got to be on the show. Same with Danhausen, these two very bright, kind of eccentric characters. At one point, Shane Taylor just demolished Danhausen with this brutal forearm. Danhausen out there trying to hold his own and score off with the powerhouse that is Shane Taylor. It was a good match, a good show. In the end, let's see, Taylor pinned Danhausen with a Marcus Garvey driver, but it was a good showing for everyone involved. Most of the con continue to shine brightly as a team. Shane Taylor Promotions is unstoppable. So they continue to reign supreme as the tag team champions. After the match, PCO and Sledge got into a brawl. They've been kind of hinting to get a match for quite a while now. So I imagine we might get that before it's all said and done here. So a very good episode of Ring of Honor Wrestling here for the free. It's free anyway because there's on Fight TV, but literally there's no reason not to watch this. It's 50 minutes. It's on the YouTube channel. It's a fun Halloween episode. Can't recommend it highly enough. Just all three matches were very, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. And I've said it on our other shows here with the NXT Halloween Havoc show. I didn't talk about it, but I really enjoyed the AEW their Halloween main event where the Elite was dressed as the Ghostbusters. I'm a sucker for all these Halloween things. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. So with this episode especially, I thought it was really, really cool to see that. Again, PCO, Danhausen, the Jack-O-Lantern tag team match. It's a good time. So that being said, I talk about that first, because it's the more, timely aspect of it here. Was that aired last night? We're going to talk about that as the review show. But obviously, I also talk about that first as kind of a great example of, again, I said at the beginning of the show, Ring of Honor has continued to deliver such an incredible show every single week. This roster is incredible. They say that they're the best wrestling on the planet. I don't disagree. Again, I dare say you're not going to find a better 1 hour show of wrestling than this in generally speaking. And again, this episode, a great example of that. So ironically, I was watching it. I was covering it as my work here. My girlfriend was in the room as well, and she was kind of half watching it. And she doesn't usually watch Ring of Honor with me. She's usually at work or something. But it was a Sunday night, so she happened to be home, and she was watching it. And she's watching NXT with me sometimes. She's watched some SmackDown, some Raw, and she's kind of critical of that in various ways. But she's kind of half watching this, and she says, "This is a good show. This is a good wrestling show. It's fun." And granted, yeah, like I said, it's a nice, very upbeat, just kind of in some ways goofy Halloween episode, but that kind of goes to show you, even for a casual viewer who can see that, hey, this is a good show. So, for that reason, I'm saying it's just so, that leads obviously to the big story for today here. It's so disappointing that with the news being last week, Ring of Honor announced they'll be taking the first quarter of 2022 to basically reimagine and I believe the term was reconceptualize the company with a new mission, with a new strategy. I've pulled up various news pieces about it so I can make sure that I have the right information. But I'll reread the statement here. So we've done a lot of coverage for it, but the statement, I believe it was last Wednesday, just out of the blue, made a tweet that they're going to be taking this hiatus here. So the statement is as follows, and I quote, "Throughout the pandemic, our top priority was to keep everyone healthy and safe. And despite not producing any live events over 18 months, we were able to keep everyone fully contracted. We now find ourselves at a time where we need to make changes to our business operations and are planning a pivot for Ring of Honor with a new mission and strategy. The year will culminate with a final battle in December, and we'll be taking the first quarter of 2022 to work internally and to reimagine ROH. ROH has the most dedicated fans in the industry, and we appreciate their loyalty and patience as we reconceptualize Ring of Honor. We anticipate returning to live events in April for the Supercard of Honor with a new fan-focused product and provide a unique experience for wrestling fans." So I'll say for my part, it's my job to cover the news here as a writer for WrestleZone. Ring of Honor has been basically my beat since I started. It's kind of I cover it, kind of not obviously not exclusively, but I have a kind of an ear to the ground. I cover it. It's part of my job, specifically to cover Ring of Honor. So it's Wednesday. That tweet goes up, and I just am taken aback. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't know. And I guess that statement itself definitely opens a lot of questions. It's very unclear exactly what it means. And then again, this was last Wednesday. Then everything just kind of the floodgates opened, because then I think not long after, I think it was maybe 20 minutes after, let's call it half an hour, maybe an hour tops. So it was pretty close proximity. That tweet goes out. Then Dave Meltzer, of the Wrestling Observer, tweeted very, very succinctly that Ring of Honor would be releasing all of their talent. And at that point, I thought, what is going on? I have no idea. This is crazy. And I would say by the end of the day on Wednesday, it definitely became one of the most wild news stories that I've covered in my time here. To see the Ring of Honor announcement and with, again, those questions that raised, and then Dave Meltzer's tweet saying that they would be releasing all of their talent with no further context. That was just stunning. And then Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said he basically confirmed that. And again, I'm pulling up some various things we have written about it here. So we had statement, and then we had the news that they will be not renewing the contract. So that tweet from Dave Meltzer, Sean Ross Sapp confirmed it, saying, based on who I've spoken to, quote, Ring of Honor releases are effective at the end of the year. If a contract goes beyond that, they're paid until March 31st. So there, the news that anybody with a Ring of Honor contract, it's not going to be renewed at the end of the year. And then if it runs through into the new year, they're not getting paid past March 31st. Now, Final Battle is slated to be in April. They didn't say a specific date, but again, that intent to return in April with Final Battle, as this kind of, I guess, restart in many ways. So then we had that kind of confirmation from Sean Ross Sapp. And on top of that, definitely a noteworthy development that with the news they wouldn't be renewing the contracts, Ross Sapp also reported that Ring of Honor talent until the end of the year can work with the company, basically to find bookings elsewhere while still technically being under contract. Now that's kind of a departure for some talent. Some talent like a guy like Brody King, Chris Dickinson, many others still were appearing elsewhere while being with Ring of Honor. They weren't exclusive, but I believe the report there being that even the exclusive talents could take bookings elsewhere by working with the company to reach an agreement to do that. So that's definitely a departure as well, where they had many non-exclusive guys, but also plenty of exclusive talent as well. So definitely that was a big development on top of that. And then on top of that, this was all happening on Wednesday. Like I said, a very, very crazy story here. So then shortly after that confirmation from Sean Ross Sapp, Mike Johnson, the Peter Insider, added more information saying that this all the talent found out via a Zoom call, which is not unusual. That it's been reported before that Ring of Honor has kind of company Zoom calls with the talent, as a kind of a town hall meeting of sorts, I guess, virtually. So the talent found out that way, I believe, on Wednesday, and Mike Johnson reported that contracts won't be renewed, and the Ring of Honor will be taping more television content to kind of fill the gap from now to leading up, I guess, through Final Battle, and then having the Final Battle event in December. We're still going to get weekly shows from Ring of Honor. They'll be producing the weekly show kind of as they have been through Final Battle here. And then the hiatus will start in first quarter 2022. So the show has not been canceled either. So they're filming new content through Final Battle, and then some reports say they will continue to film some original content during the hiatus, whatever that might mean. I'm not quite sure. But again, many questions here in that regard. The point being, the show has not been canceled. There's been some reports about Sinclair Broadcast Group, the parent company, canceling it. I don't think that's the case. It seems maybe more like a matter of a reorganization in some ways of the fact that they probably were losing money due to the pandemic, and this was kind of a response to that. So that's definitely a big thing as well. And again, Wrestling reached out to Ring of Honor about all of this, and we got a quote saying the Ring of Honor will continue to produce original content during this time, and through the hiatus there. Again, we're not sure what that means, but again, with the news that the contracts won't be renewed. Apparently, another report saying that when Ring of Honor, the plan being that when Ring of Honor does return, they'll focus on, quote, non-contracted indie talent, and that's from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. They're going to basically be, quote, essentially an indie promotion booking top talent based on availability for tapings, other events, possibly. And again, I think the narrative there being that that kind of leads to problems where it's like if you have a champion that's not available for a show, that kind of sounds like it could be problematic in that sense. If that is true, obviously that's just a report. So that's something as well. But that does seem to be the plan, where they were going to be focusing on non-contracted indie talent when with the plan being to return in April, and that being the case. And to me, again, this is just so. And it's such a crazy story to follow. As I said, I was covering it live here. Mike Johnson again reporting that they are not canceling the show. They're going to continue to air the show leading up to. They're going to continue airing TV content leading up to that planned show in April. So reportedly, Mike Johnson saying they have a venue locked in for WrestleMania weekend in April. So that does seem to be the plan to have a show in April. They named it in the announcement as the Supercard of Honor there. And also we had, he covered an interview with Joe Koff. He interviewed Joe Koff, the COO of Ring of Honor. And there wasn't a whole lot of more information there. But again, emphasizing that the Ring of Honor will work with the talent to help them get other bookings in the meantime throughout until the end of the year when they're still under contract. So again, that's definitely a development as well. But yeah, they're not renewing contracts, but this talent is free to work elsewhere. The show is not canceled, but they are they're going to continue producing new content. So that's basically the gist of these various reports and things. Another one being that soon after the announcement of Ring of Honor's looming hiatus and all these changes, a lot of the focus shifted to their tape library, where it was like, okay, this company has such an amazing history, and you know, if you think back, seeing incredible runs for guys like seeing incredible runs for guys like Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Jay Lethal, all these Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, any number of stars that have walked through and competed in the Ring of Honor ring over the years. Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens, another one. So many guys. Such an amazing library of content there. Initially, Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated reported that the tape library might be, or would supposedly be for sale to the highest bidder, but then Meltzer reported an update saying that supposedly is not the case, with AEW, Impact, and WWE sources saying that they knew nothing about it. They hadn't heard that to be the case, and you'd have to assume that they would, that if the tape library was for sale, that they would have heard about it. But again, the big takeaway here is that Ring of Honor going on hiatus, first quarter 2022, not renewing contracts at the end of 2021. And if any contracts do run through to 2022, they'll get paid through March 31, with the April event kind of being after that. So again, some interesting timeline aspects there of, you know, I guess that would mean that whoever is under contract then would not be on Final Battle. That would be my read on that situation. And then again, with the plan being that when they do return, it will be a focus on non-contracted indie talent. Deep breath. All right, that is a lot to take in. Again, when I was covering it live, you know, just snap, boom, 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 thing after thing after thing. And this unfolded, I think it started on Wednesday. Things kept kind of popping up here and there. The tape library news, I think, just kind of a relatively regular stream of information, starting late Wednesday afternoon, probably wrapping up roughly maybe Friday of last week. So now we're here the following Monday as we're recording, trying to digest all of this, trying to take it all in. And part of this too is also very quickly after the news broke on Wednesday, a lot of the talent immediately started tweeting the messages of heartbreak, disappointment, and just being rightfully upset about it, lending even more credibility to it. Because at first it was like, as I said, it's like, what's going on? I have no idea. Like, this is very, very confusing. And then when the talent started to tweet that they're taking bookings, that they're like heartbroken or upset or frustrated or whatever it might be, it was like, okay, this is real. This is something. This is happening. Whatever is happening is a thing. So that just following all that as well. So now here we are, a couple days removed from it. I think that's beneficial because now we've got to kind of soak it all in, to take a step back and be like, all right, what is going on? I just read through all these reports about it. I try to emphasize the most important aspects of that. But again, that announcement from Ring of Honor, the thing that kicked it off is very, very telling, with the quotes being that they need to make changes to the business operations. They're planning a pivot with a new mission and strategy. They're going to work internally to reimagine Ring of Honor, and they're going to reconceptualize the company. That just really says, okay, major changes. Like the Ring of Honor that we knew, that we have known, that we know right now, will cease to exist next year. Like that is pretty clear. Silas Young himself, former Ring of Honor World TV champion, said that in an interview. He said, "Ring of Honor, as we know it, will cease to exist for the foreseeable future." And like I think he more meant just kind of in a very general sense that the company will go on hiatus, so it will not really exist as we know it. Period. For the first quarter of next year. So I'll be transparent with you all. Obviously, I'm sitting here. I do this show. I love Ring of Honor. I want to emphasize that 100%. I love Ring of Honor. I've covered it since I started here. I've been a big fan. I've seen its peaks and valleys. I've seen its growth for the past, call it what, 2.5 years, through the G1 Supercard, controversy, through any number of things that happened. 2019, through this ongoing narrative about how they don't have stars because the elite left, all these things, and yet seeing the company continue to thrive and put on a great show and build these new stars anyway. A guy like Jonathan Gresham becoming, or showing everyone that he is, for my money, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the best wrestler in the world. A guy like Shane Taylor, incredibly talented. A guy like Bandito, the world champion, an amazing talent. So many people, so many wonderful, amazing talents and amazing people outside the ring. To be able to cover that, it's been an absolute honor and privilege, and I very much hope to continue to do so, whatever happens next. But we are sitting here now as I record this. It is November 1st. April is a long time away, and I was most taken aback by the reports that they'll be releasing / not renewing the talent contracts at the end of the year, and then they intend to come back in April. And on paper, I see that, and I'm like, that's not a lot of time to build a whole new roster, technically. But then that was my initial reaction. And then when they had the report that, okay, they're going to be focusing on non-contracted indie talent, it's like, okay, I could see that seems more feasible. But again, April is a long time away. When they're going to be taking that first quarter to reconceptualize, to reimagine, to pivot, what's that going to look like? I don't know. Like, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Granted, again, the statement saying that they intend to return in April, and again, I referenced earlier that tweet from Ian Riccaboni, the commentator, saying that he has reasons for optimism for the Ring of Honor's return in April, but he's not sure because nobody's sure. You get the announcement that they're going on hiatus, and then get the reports that they're going to be releasing everybody, and there are so many questions, many more questions than answers at this point. So I'm sitting here trying to make sense of it all, trying to discuss it all for you all, and to kind of just to share my thoughts on it. But really, the big moral of the story here is that nobody knows for sure what's going to be happening, and that's part of the, I guess, concern here, part of the distressing situation where it's like nobody really knows, and the report being that they are going to, they intend to come back. That wasn't the announcement. They intend to come back with Supercard of Honor, but it's like a lot of the immediate reactions were this feeling that it was like Ring of Honor is dying, and that sounds very, very drastic and catastrophic, but that seemed to be kind of the general response from other journalists, from fans. The general wrestling world was like kind of pouring out for Ring of Honor, like this is big. This is really going to be a big obstacle for them. Even if they do come back, that's going to be very, very hard to come back from. So that was the immediate reaction in a lot of ways, and just kind of across the board for me. I look at that statement that they released. I try to take it at face value of like, okay, they're gonna come back. But then with all these reports on top of that, it's knowing, okay, it's going to look drastically different, and I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to look like. It's not going to be the Ring of Honor. Like, if they're saying that they're going to pivot the business strategy, I don't know if that means they're going to pivot the way they do things, well, in the literal sense of the show they put on. And I think they're going to have to if they're doing a show with non-contracted talent. And again, the one report saying that was Meltzer about that not contracted talent. So again, by booking talent that you don't have locked down, that does kind of create problems. If you have a champion, they could sign elsewhere, and then what? Then it's kind of constant shuffling, and you see that all the time in company again, admittedly now Ring of Honor kind of this pivot to a somewhat independent company, if that's the mission to prioritize non-contracted talent. That is kind of the takeaway that I'm seeing kind of across the board here. You see that a lot. That's not uncommon, but it was less common for a company like Ring of Honor in recent years when they were locking talent down to kind of avoid that. But in the past, they had champions get signed elsewhere, and then they had to kind of work around that. And that happens for companies like any number of places. You see that all the time. It's common. If you don't lock down the talent, they can't sign elsewhere. So then when a WWE or AW swoops them in, that's just kind of, that's the nature of the beast. So I do want to touch on some of your comments here. You guys are chipping in for this conversation. I appreciate it. Friends on Nando, always chipping in. I appreciate you saying that Sinclair Group, that the parent company for Ring of Honor, has so much money. I can't believe they didn't see the value in Ring of Honor. If they would have presented ROH like a big deal with their far-reaching influence, ROH would have become a big deal. Nando, I could not agree more. And for that, I say I transcribed part of a Shane Taylor interview they did elsewhere over the weekend, pretty shortly after all this news broke. And he said something strikingly close to what you're saying right there. He said that for him, where Ring of Honor has wound up right now today was very, very avoidable for that reason that Nando, you just mentioned right there, saying that for him, he spotlighted the fact that the company has done a lot. It's really focused on social media marketing and social media kind of PR or social media advertising of like tweeting and all these things. And that's great. That's very, very important in 2021 to do that. But he was saying like there's something to be said for old school, like boots on the ground, street marketing, like whether it's radio shows or, whatever it might be, literally in person, like more kind of local advertising. If you go to, granted, the pandemic kind of changed things, but maybe kind of dating back before that when they're traveling, even then not doing like local marketing like that. So Nando, amazing comment. I could not agree more, saying that they can't believe they didn't see the value in Ring of Honor if they present it like a big deal. So Shane Taylor as well had said that there are so many resources in a more general sense from Sinclair, the parent company. They could have, or maybe wishful thinking, maybe like they could have utilized more to achieve that very goal, to come across like a bigger deal, to get the word out more, to get more of a public following. Because again, I do this show saying, like, practically begging everybody, like, watch Ring of Honor. It's this great show. You got to watch it. And I'm just kind of shouting into the void here, and I retweet it, and I tweet it, and I post it, and I try to send the word out to the WrestleZone fans and things like that. But otherwise, and I tweet about it on Twitter myself personally, and I use hashtag and stuff. That only goes so far. There's only so much anybody can do. Any fan, even again, Shane Taylor pointed out, even the company itself, just kind of tweeting out there. If someone's on Twitter and they don't really know to look for Ring of Honor, they're not going to necessarily know to look for it. Like they're not going to necessarily watch it. If they don't know that it's happening, if they don't know, they're doing this show or that show, or they have these people or whatever it might be. Like I imagine a guy like Danhausen, he's become very, very popular in a very general sense, kind of across the wrestling world. I feel like not a lot of people, casual fans, really know this guy currently works in Ring of Honor. He was just on the show last night. I feel like not a lot of people know that. And again, part of that is this perhaps missed opportunity for more maybe general marketing or more general advertising. And again, wishful thinking, but like Shane Taylor definitely spotlighted that. And Nando, you hit the nail right on the head there. It's just, I could not agree more. It's an absolute shame. Silas Young did an interview as well. I transcribed that. I highly recommend check out our WrestleZone news page, or just go on our Facebook, Twitter, whatever it might be. Over the weekend, they went up on Saturday. I published both interviews from elsewhere, but highlighted them. With Shane Taylor pointing that out, as Nando had said, Silas Young more focused on like, hey, this was a business move. It sucks, but Ring of Honor has put on shows for. Yeah, other than, especially I should say, even like during the pandemic, they went dark. Unlike everybody, they shut down. I think everybody other than MLW, they shut down. They went dark. They did kind of clip shows and highlight shows. They did week by week, but they didn't put on live shows from, call it, March of 2020 through. I think they taped in August and they finally came back in September of 2020, I believe. So that's several months of no like live content, and then when they did come back, it was without fans, and that's not economically sustainable for when you have for anybody. And then when you have a parent company kind of overseeing that, it's business. You look at the bottom line, the bottom dollar, and it's like, all right, they're losing money. What do we do now? And having, it went on for several months, and thankfully, again, I think everyone involved, it deserves to be recognized for the fact that they didn't do this the second that the pandemic started to kind of lift. They didn't do it during the pandemic. They waited out the pandemic. They made it through, and now it's November 1st as I'm recording. So we've had several months of relative normalcy in the wrestling world. Independent shows are back up and running by and large. Wrestling, as in a very general sense, is back up and running. So when you have this announcement come along, that is something as well, where it's like, okay, if we're releasing talent, if we're not renewing the talent, we can kind of feel somewhat comfortable in the fact that a lot, if not most of those people are going to find booking elsewhere. They're going to be successful elsewhere as well. So, that is definitely, I commend all parties involved for that, for kind of waiting it out and waiting for the wrestling world to kind of, quote unquote, come back in many ways. So, but again, it really is a business thing. I don't think it's even necessarily a reflection of Ring of Honor itself. I really do think this is just a consequence of the pandemic era, and maybe that's me being optimistic. I mean, obviously, you could talk about AEW, you could talk about a number of things kind of changing the wrestling world, but I really do think this is just kind of a cause and effect of the pandemic, of Ring of Honor. Again, it's so bittersweet. Ring of Honor has been commended and renowned for taking such good care of the talent during the pandemic era, of continuing to do shows without live fans. They did Best in the World in July. They did Glory of Honor in August. They did Death Before Dishonor in that was September. But otherwise, those were pretty isolated incidents. And then they did tapings without fans. So they really have not had that opportunity to even kind of try to make money back in that sense. And again, that mission to really take care of the talent and make sure they're safe, that has this unfortunate consequence in many ways. That is my take on it. I'm not saying that as fact. I'm saying that as someone who covers the company from the outside looking in, and from all these reports that we're seeing, and from the fact that it is this company that's owned by another body that's, again, kind of looking down on it and saying, okay, it's likely losing money. Let's look at why, and the pandemic and everything, and there you go, cause and effect. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of the business there. Noel Orlando Rolone saying he wonders when Ring of Honor comes back, will they do what OVW is doing? I'm not as familiar with OVW. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. That is one company I don't cover all that much, if you wouldn't mind elaborating. I do know OVW does do a weekly show. I believe that airs on Fight as well, and they have their own roster, and I imagine that roster can take indie bookings as well. So maybe I think that's kind of what Noel might be getting at. But likewise, Noel was saying the Booker T's show, Reality of Wrestling, is getting big. Yeah, Booker T, Reality of Wrestling, they got a TV deal. They're going to be kind of streaming nationally on TV. And so they're definitely getting traction there. Noel, thank you for elaborating there. Saying that OVW, their show kind of builds talent from the ground up. I think that's the intention. Again, I read that report that they're going to, come back with focus on non-contract indie talent. So I think the goal there would in theory be to try and kind of build people up to look at the independent scene and kind of essentially scout and bring in people and try and build around them or feature them and kind of groom them. But again, the downside of that is, as soon as they kind of get over, as soon as they get on AEW's radar, WWE's radar, even Impact's radar, then if they're not contracted, they can sign elsewhere at the drop of a hat. And let's say they're a champion, that makes it very difficult to put on a cohesive show for anybody. And again, I talked about it before. You see that we've seen it many times in wrestling. It's just, that's the nature of the beast again. But it is unfortunate, to have this. If that is what they pivot to, I think it will be very challenging. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be great wrestling as always, but I think it will be challenging. And I think that will be one of the probably kind of one of the new downsides. Because again, the Ring of Honor had been locking up talent, guys like Matt Taven, guys like PCO, any number of people that have exclusive deals. They couldn't go elsewhere for the duration of the contract. So I think that definitely will be a downside in that regard as well. Nando chipping in was, again, Nando always pays your comments. There's a couple of comments here. He's saying, without the help of Ring of Honor on the All-In pay-per-view, AEW would not be a thing. The All Elite owe Ring of Honor a debt of gratitude for all they did for them, especially the Bucks and Cody. Cody's reinvention himself would have been impossible without Ring of Honor. That's so, Nando, you hit the nail on the head again. 100%. I mean, a lot of the narrative focuses on like, oh, Ring of Honor kind of like unofficially died or really, really like took a hit after Ring of Honor, after AEW started, because Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, SCU as well, several stars in Ring of Honor kind of were the building blocks of AEW. And a lot of the focus has been like, oh, they left, so then Ring of Honor doesn't have stars anymore. And as long as I've been doing this show, and I said all the time elsewhere, like, no, they have stars, people just don't know about them. So, and I like that perspective of saying, actually, like, on the flip side, AEW owes a heck of a lot to Ring of Honor. Cody Rhodes really reestablished himself. The Young Bucks thrived in Ring of Honor. The Elite in general kind of really started in Ring of Honor. Not just Ring of Honor, I understand that, but it would be inaccurate and I think unfair to kind of gloss over. Ring of Honor is very much, I'm not going to say responsible for it, but they certainly deserve credit in AEW history, and therefore, like, kind of because of that, as we're seeing AEW continue to rise and gain so much momentum, certainly deserves credit in that regard as well. So I think it's very, very important to recognize that as well. I've become a big fan of AEW, and I think that it's certainly, no matter what happens next for Ring of Honor, whatever the future holds, I think that should definitely become more of the conversation of like, hey, AEW fans should kind of at least be conscious of the fact that Ring of Honor played a big part in that. So also here we're talking about none of people knowing about Ring of Honor. Nando, again, another on the nose like perfect comment here, saying Ring of Honor was on so late at night. If you wanted to watch it, you'd have to wait till 3 a.m. to see it. This is part of the problem as well. When I first started working here, I didn't know how to cover it. I remember it was on Charge, which is this like TV channel that streams on a website. And I remember it was streaming at like 10 p.m. Eastern time on a Sunday, and that's a hard slot. And I know they have other TV deals on their website. They have like a how to watch ROH. Whenever I looked at my zip code, I'm a New Jersey boy. It literally wouldn't come up. It's not in my local market. So for a long time I watched it on Monday nights on Fight, which technically is 2 days after it premieres I think it technically is on Saturdays, and then because it's syndication, it airs kind of at different times over the weekend. But perfect comment there. Like they did not have I'll say a traditional TV deal in that sense. It's definitely not like a Raw or a SmackDown and AEW when it's like you have a set time, 8 p.m. on this big platform, and that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles. I imagine, you know, if things worked out differently, if not for the pandemic, there was at one point PCO did an interview where he said they had an agreement for a TV deal. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it would have been a live TV deal, and that fell through because of the pandemic, and that is heartbreaking in the sense that, like, if you can only imagine how things might be right now if not for the pandemic. And we could spend another hour about that in the general sense. But for Ring of Honor, if not for the pandemic, who knows? I would say we would not be. I wouldn't be here talking about the company going on hiatus and not having any clue what happens next. If not for the pandemic, I think that interview from PCO saying that they would have had a TV deal, and then who knows? I should say I have started watching Ring of Honor Wrestling on Honor Club, but that's paid. So I think you can watch it for free on the website. I don't think that's part of the paid Honor Club's subscription. So, but again, part of the problem is people don't know that. Like, people don't necessarily know to even look there. So again, this lack of fan awareness of like, oh, like, they don't know. People can say, oh, I want to watch Ring of Honor, but I don't know how. I don't know where to find it. So, you know, and again, part of the theme for today here, Jason, saying that Ring of Honor has amazing talent. They just need a TV deal. So 100%. And again, it's just so disappointing that, that they didn't get that. And now here we are. And if you ask me, like, what I think is next for the company, again, the announcement being they intend to return. if they are going to become this company that that the report being they're going to prioritize that non-contracted talent, that feels like a step back to me. So then I say, okay, you know, are they going to get TV? Like, what does that do for the, I guess, future prospects of the company, if that makes sense? Like, are they going to get a TV deal? I don't know. Nobody knows. You know, I can sit here and hope one, they come back, because there is a genuine concern from many fans that they won't come back. Period. That again, it is November 1 now. That April will come around, and somewhere along the way, the plug will be pulled. That's it. You know, no more. I'm not saying that's happening. That has not been said at all. But I'm saying it remains something that could happen. Right? We just don't know, and that's very, very sad. Like I've actually been pretty like down in general, thinking about like personally, emotionally thinking about Ring of Honor, and like I love this company, I love the roster, the amazing show it puts on, and it's like I don't know, you know, what the future is going to be for it, and that sucks. Like I'm not going to sit here and I'm trying to be as positive as I can, or as kind of level as I can, but at the end of the day, it's sad because I loved Ring of Honor the way it was. And I don't know what to expect from it going forward here. But we got more comments here, and I appreciate you guys. My own WrestleZone's own Dominic D'Angelo chipping in. I appreciate you, Dominic, saying, what talents, in your opinion, would benefit from the potential of Ring of Honor going dark, which may encounter difficulty because of it? Do you mean... I think Dominic means like who could possibly sign elsewhere in terms of like when they go dark. And that's kind of the flip side of the question here. And that really is the big thing here at the end of the day. It's like who will benefit and who will struggle. Because I mentioned it earlier in the show. I look at a guy like Shane Taylor, best striker in the business, bar none. I think he's incredible as a striker, as a brawler, as a personality, and as the leader of Shane Taylor Promotions. This like movement, this amazing stable that's fighting for representation and for breaking stereotypes and for changing the business for the better, doing incredible things. That they were really like finding their footing in Ring of Honor. If Shane Taylor does not get his due, if he does not sign elsewhere, if someone doesn't like look at him and say this guy is great, and like many people are looking him to AEW, I think he'd be great in AEW in terms of giving them something they don't really have. I mean, I guess just again that question of representation and style. I think they have, you know, some powerhouses, literally Powerhouse Hobbs being one, but by and large, like he would very, very much stand out in a very, very good way in AEW. So Dominic asking who could benefit. Shane Taylor, again, if he doesn't get signed somewhere like big time, AEW, maybe WWE. I don't see that as much for him, but maybe. But I think AEW should sign him. I'm gonna say that right here and now. In a world where Ring of Honor is not renewing the contracts, Shane Taylor is free to go elsewhere. I think he tweeted that come the new year, he's going to really like start getting out there, whereas other talent is taking more bookings now. So I think we can expect to see during that time where Ring of Honor is going dark, as Dominic says, Shane Taylor, if he does not get signed, something is severely wrong with the wrestling world, because like Shane Taylor is so talented and he so much deserves to go somewhere and be recognized in the spotlight for that. And I will say that till I'm blue in the face, because I think he's great. Dalton Castle, maybe even not so much as a wrestling thing here. I mean, I think he could be great in Hollywood. We saw him on I think it was Celebrity Family Feud. He's such a great like character. I think him and Danhausen, among others, are two guys that could really thrive, obviously, in wrestling and beyond, in entertainment, in movies. Danhausen has said before that he wants to venture out a little more into other things, like he wants to do comic books or movies or whatever. I look at him, I'm like, 100%, this guy, he's gonna be fine. Whatever that looks like, I think he'll be fine in wrestling and beyond. Unfortunately, last night he broke his leg at an indie show, so I think it'll be a while before he's back in the ring. But I think that could mean that we do see him, take on other projects once he's kind of, healed, or who even knows. I think he'll be fine. more than fine. I think he'll get his due as a character in a character sense in entertainment in general. And for wrestling, a lot of people are connecting him to AEW. He was just on the Jericho cruise with Chris Jericho, the AEW former world champion. So I mean, there might be like, maybe a little something there. I mean, but Danhausen is this like cult favorite character, and he's great. I think he's such a great personality. I'm sure he'll be fine. Dalton Castle, again, I think he's such a great character as well. I think he's going to go somewhere and thrive. I don't know where that might be. We've talked about it on the show before. He has had back issues, so maybe, if Ring of Honor would Ring of Honor go on hiatus, maybe he'll take on other projects. I don't know. This is all me just saying what could happen. So I don't know if he wants to like continue as a kind of a full-time wrestler. Maybe he could go to Impact, this kind of company that focuses more on character. He's a great wrestler as well, and Impact has plenty of great wrestlers, but Impact kind of more known for these characters in some ways, so maybe that as well. I think there's something said for that. We had a comment earlier saying that that Orange Cassidy and Danhausen would be a match made in heaven. That'd be wonderful. And Nando saying that Dalton and Orange Cassidy would be a great combo there. Dalton and the boys could work in AEW. I could see that. I mean, again, AEW kind of is this. They've Cody Rhodes said it before. They're like this buffet, and I think that they could kind of pluck from some of these various buffet stations in Ring of Honor and look at a guy like Shane Taylor, look at a guy like Danhausen, maybe Dalton Castle. I certainly think that that's something we could see. But Orange Cassidy, I think he could be great with personalities like Danhausen, like Dalton Castle, whoever it might be. I think that'd be really, really cool. So going back to Dominic's comment here, a guy like Brody King, much like Shane Taylor, Brody King's already kind of taking off on the I guess for lack of a word, the independent scene. He's a PWG tag team champion with Malachi Black. I think it literally writes itself to have Brody King go to AEW and team with Malachi Black. I think they are a great pairing in the ring as personalities, just as a general act. That makes perfect sense. You could do like the House of Black, kind of a stable kind of thing, or at least a team. I think that'd be great. Brody King is incredible. I had the privilege of seeing him live at a New Japan Strong show. It was last month. It was that was the showdown in Philadelphia. I think he's great. He's one of my favorites. Him, Shane Taylor, wrestling wise, they have to, like, whatever it might mean, they're going to thrive. And whether that means an AEW or an Impact or in a WWE or just kind of setting the world on fire on the independent scene and going over the place and getting these great bookings, maybe that too for the mid-time. Guys like that, definitely going to thrive. Bandito, amazing talent. He's the world champion right now. He's going to do great things. He already got announced for his GCW return in December. He's going to be great. He's gonna set the world on fire. I just said it. He's incredible, an amazing high flyer. AW could look his way for more of that lucha libre style kind of thing, because they don't have that quite as much on their roster right now. Obviously the Lucha Brothers and some others, but to kind of build that up a little bit. So, Nando, you're man, you're getting my creative juices flowing. He's saying, Nando saying, imagine if Rey Fenix, Pentagon, Bandito, and Andrade became a stable, tranquilo. Oh my gosh, Nando. I'm going to be thinking about that all day. I mean, we were talking about this months ago. The thought that Andrade could maybe go to a Ring of Honor. Obviously, that's not what happened, but to have him work with a guy like Bandito, Roosh, who he's on the shelf right now. Roosh will be back. His contract was expiring in January anyway. I think I'd love to see him work with Andrade in Ring of Honor. In AEW. I think that'd be something. I believe I saw one report that he's working on his English skills to potentially kind of fit in a little better at an American promotion. So I think that'd be incredible. Andrade and Bruce, sign me up. Bandito as well. He's great. He's gonna be like, he's one of those guys I feel in my heart he's gonna be doing great things, and he already is. He's returning to GCW. GCW is really getting a lot of buzz, continues to get a lot of buzz lately, so that's really good for him. Brody King returned to GCW in December as well, and again, I have to imagine Brody King, he's continues to work for New Japan Strong as well. So I look at him as a guy that could very much go to AEW and do great things, and just in general do great things as well. But just circle back to Dominic's comment, he's asking who might struggle. The sad thing is, as for every Shane Taylor, for every Brody King, Bandito, Danhausen, any number of talented people, numerous, Mike Bennett, so many more I haven't even named. For every one of those, there are others that aren't nearly as well known that may struggle. A team like the Bouncers, a team like, or not necessarily a team, but a guy like Josh Woods, amazing. He's the pure champion right now. He's amazing, but I feel like not a lot of people know about him. He's in Ring of Honor. He's a Ring of Honor guy in a lot of ways. Not a lot of people know about him. One of my personal favorites, Brian Johnson. I worry without that real platform, I'm like, what? Yeah, I worry about that. I think that's something that's, some of these talent are going to struggle to really get out there, or at the very least get the spotlight they deserve. Because a guy like Brian Johnson is so incredibly talented. Josh Woods is an amazing talent. So many others. Dak Draper, Moses and Khan. I think they're going to get a lot of independent bookings, but getting the spotlight they deserve. I think Shane Taylor Promotions will stay together. I think they would do great things in AEW as a trio. I hope that happens. But some of those more younger guys may struggle. But with that in mind, Noel saying maybe we'll see some of the young talent. He's pitching an invasion storyline of NXT. I don't know about that, but I think some of the young talent could definitely sign with NXT and get treated like any number of other young prospects that we see come through NXT. Now it's a little different with NXT 2.0, where there's this less of an emphasis on independent talent. Ironically, the Ring of Honor kind of now they supposedly will be emphasizing the indie talent more going forward when they come back. NXT is going the different way of somewhat going away from that. But if they have any number of people that they want to bring in that they're drawn to, that stand out to them, and again, Ring of Honor has such an amazing roster, I think some of these people very, very well might wind up in NXT 2.0, and to kind of get that chance to to grow and to kind of to be, I don't know, I guess to get coached and grown and elevated and cultivated is what I was looking for into NXT 2.0. While guys like Shane Taylor, Brody King, Bandito, Roosh, when he's healthy again, many guys may be ready for the spotlight right now. Maybe some of the younger members of the roster maybe kind of coach him up or whatever. Noel saying Josh Woods could be amazing in NXT. I agree. I think that'd be great. I think has so much potential. I think he's certainly I think everyone on this roster deserves opportunities and deserves a chance to shine. And I really, really hope they do. The whole women's division, they just built up the women's division, and now that's I don't know. The company kind of going on hiatus, and then Roxy is an amazing talent. I think she'll sign out. Sorry, reportedly, AEW checked in on her right after she signed with Ring of Honor. So maybe they'll kind of give her a call. I think she certainly deserves that. That'll be wonderful for her. Miranda Elise is a great talent. Maxine Paylor is an amazing personality and this great powerhouse of a wrestler. I can't emphasize enough. Everyone on this roster is so talented. Everyone on this roster deserves the very, very best. So I really, really want the best for everyone involved. And I really, really just that's my take on it at the end of the day. And again, more thoughts on potentially WWE buying the Ring of Honor tape library could happen. But again, I mentioned early in the show that the differing reports on whether that tape library is available. In the event it becomes available, I think WWE will make a play for it because that has tended to be their kind of mission of monopoly. But AEW might go for it. We were talking about it before. With that inherent link in their history, with Ring of Honor being involved with the very event that birthed AEW all in. Ring of Honor owns, I think they own the name, I believe. So AEW might want to, get that. But that's definitely something to look out for here as well. Nando wondering where PCO will go. Ironically, PCO's contract was set to expire, I believe, the end of November anyway. PCO, former Ring of Honor World Champion. So even before all this, he was the news broke that his contract was set to expire at the end of November anyway, November this year. So and he's already taking bookings elsewhere. He's going to be returning to GCW. He's taking bookings at other companies. So I think for him, I don't know. He's an amazing talent. I love him. I think he's such a great character. I'm a big fan of the French Frankenstein. I don't know how much that would translate on national TV at this point as in wrestling. I don't know, or I should say, I don't know if that would fit in AEW. WWE doesn't feel like, I feel like they'd make a joke of it. I wouldn't really want to see that. I feel like it could work an Impact if he does, if the cards fall the right way, if he wants to go there. I think that's something. But I don't know. I mentioned Danhausen and Dalton Castle earlier. PCO could be a great horror movie villain. You could put him in like a horror movie franchise, and I think that would be great. If I've interviewed him, I had the privilege of doing so, and he made it clear that he wants to keep wrestling. But if he decides I want to do maybe some more other entertainment things, maybe that. But if not, I think he's got a great mind for the business. Noel Orlando Rolón saying that maybe PCO could be a trainer or a producer for WWE. Maybe, but again, I think for now he wants to keep wrestling. So in the meantime, I think we'll see him continue to take bookings on the independent scene. And again, GCW, other companies as well. So there's that to look forward to if you're a PCO fan like myself. So I'm looking forward to that. My voice is literally fried, so I've been talking for an hour about this. But yeah, it's just that for me, in a nutshell, I love Ring of Honor. I love this roster. I love this show they put on every week. I'm going to continue to cover it until, or at the very least, through Final Battle. Obviously, with that being the last show until the hiatus, and then I'm going to cover it as long as I can, like as long as they're putting out content to cover. But again, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what that looks like. And there's so much uncertainty. There's so many questions. So much just. Yeah, like nobody knows. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody can safely say, okay, we know 100% this is going to happen, period. Because Ring of Honor is saying that they want to return, that they plan to return. And I would say I take that at face value that they will return. They will return with non-contracted talent. And Nando pointed out earlier that does have its own difficulties as well. He said non-contracted talent comes with many growing pains, character development, in-ring work. And literally, if you're trying to coach them up, if they are in a literal sense, like independent talent that aren't used to being on TV, that's very true. And that is a downside, but I'm sure that, Ring of Honor has a great, staff, a great coaching staff, and that they'll be able to kind of get whoever they bring in up to speed in no time. So I choose to take at face value that Ring of Honor is going to come back in April for Supercard of Honor. And I'm going to be here. I'll do the show again. I'll talk about Final Battle when it comes in December, that being the end of Ring of Honor as we currently know it, and then wait to see what happens next. I'll be talking about that in December, obviously. But for now, obviously, it felt very important to sit here and have you all be able to give everyone a platform to anyone that tuned in to talk about this, to ask questions, to share their thoughts. I selfishly wanted to talk about it because I've just been so floored for days of just like, this is crazy. I'm stunned, and it's mind-boggling in many ways. Just like, just to wrap my head around it. So I appreciate you all for listening, for giving me an hour of your time if you've been watching this whole thing. To make sense of this, to share my thoughts on it. And I appreciate all of you who commented, to kept the conversation going and shared your thoughts. But yeah, for in the meantime, we're going to have to wait and see. We know Ring of Honor will continue with their weekly TV show leading up to Final Battle, and then putting on Final Battle in December. I'll be covering that for WrestleZone. I'll be doing this show, if not weekly, semi-regularly, and leading up to that. And obviously, I will review Final Battle in December. But at the end of the day, I want to emphasize, I love Ring of Honor. 2, I want the best Ring of Honor. And 3, 3, it sucks. 3, it sucks that this is what has happened. And I very, very much hope that whatever is next for the company, that works out. And Nando, I'm rambling, but Nando is going to let me wrap it up very, very, very nicely here. Nando saying, if Ring of Honor can't come back, if they can't come back, saying thanks for the memories, hashtag thank you Ring of Honor. And again, I choose to believe that they will come back, but I will say thank you Ring of Honor for the memories you have given us up to this point, for the product, for the content, for the company you've been up to this point. I thank you. I love you, Ring of Honor. They can't hear me, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I do. I think it is the best wrestling on the planet, and that's it. With that being said, it's been an hour. My voice is fried. I appreciate you all so much for listening. I'll be back here tonight with John Clark as we're recording this live on Monday night. John Clark and I will be talking about Monday Night Raw. Then we'll be here on Tuesday night to talk about WWE NXT. Otherwise, Robert and I will be here on Friday to talk about Friday Night SmackDown. The Dynamite Dudes, two Dynamite Dudes on the Rampage. They just did a special Halloween episode for all things AEW. All those things and more, along with a great stream of interviews constantly coming to you guys. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I really do appreciate your support. I appreciate you for listening, for giving me the opportunity to sit here and rant and share my thoughts on all this stuff. But yeah, you guys, all of your support means the world to me, everyone, and I appreciate you. And remember, even on a day as maybe kind of a bit of a bummer as this one, or at least to think about some of these the general thoughts here about Ring of Honor here, about not knowing what's going to happen next, no matter what. Again, I talked to end on happy now. I talked about the Halloween episode of Ring of Honor Wrestling. It was fun, and I made it easy to do the one thing we do here at WrestleZone, and that, my friends, is to enjoy wrestling. Thanks for listening, everybody.